morning, everyone, and welcome to this new Wi-Fi 360 Prime interview. It's my pleasure to welcome Clayton Wagar, Solution Architect with Benu Networks. Good morning, Clayton. How are you today?
Good morning. Doing very well. Thanks for having me today.
So, can you tell the audience who is Benu Networks?
Sure, absolutely. Benu is a venture-backed company based out of Boston, Massachusetts. We've been around a number of years, and our focus is on the growth in community Wi-Fi. So specifically, we work with service provider partners around the globe to expand their Wi-Fi footprint, both in, of course, the traditional outdoor venues as well as indoor, but also most specifically inside the community Wi-Fi area. So powering those hotspots as they make their way into their customers' homes and increase the footprint for their customers across their service provider footprint.
So I see a number of companies here on the slide. Those are some of your investors.
This is a list of our investors here. Yep. So we are very fortunate to have a number of strategic partner investors, including some, as you see, some significant service providers, Comcast, Liberty Global, and Shaw, as well as we enjoy having a partnership with Aris as an investor as well, which is very helpful with some of the folks in the cable community.
That's an impressive list. So, I mean, can you tell us what problem are you trying to solve here?
Sure. Well, I think there's no question that the excitement around Wi-Fi has been real for a number of years. It continues to grow, and really the way that Benu views it as a three-part problem. We are in a phase here with Wi-Fi where we are continuing to increase the footprint that we have, and when I say we, of course, I mean our service providers as an industry. And the idea is that it's somewhat of a land grab right now. We want to make sure that our networks are where our customers are. It's no good for a customer to have a relationship with a service provider if they can't be using that network no matter where they are. And Wi-Fi is really a critical piece of that for operators of all types around the globe. So the first part of the problem is really to increase the footprint, and of course that not only is in the traditional areas like venues and outdoor malls, small businesses, but again, it extends into the community and really increasing that footprint as wide and as well as we can. The second step is really to build on top of that. Once you have that ubiquitous footprint, you can build services on top of that. So we're very passionate about the fact that Wi-Fi is more than just connectivity. It's more than just a water fountain. It is actually a bottle of water that you'll go and purchase at the store because you have an affinity for that particular brand of water, or in our case, a particular service provider Wi-Fi. So layering the services on top of that is really the next step. And you see the beginnings of that with Wi-Fi only operators. For example, a couple weeks ago, Cablevision in New York launched their freewheel service, which is the voice over Wi-Fi, really using Wi-Fi first as a service. That's one example of the type of services that we'll look to launch with customers going forward. Thirdly, it's not enough to have a single new service every year or every 6 months. Really what Benu is focused on in the long term is ensuring that those services are able to come to market at a much more rapid pace. So really in a software, web-style velocity of services on top of that robust Wi-Fi network that was built.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's dive into the actual architecture of your solution and dive into an actual implementation that you have made.
Sure. So what you're looking at here is really a sort of a classic carrier Wi-Fi solution. There are a number of different flavors of this architecture. As you scale the number of access points that you have in the community to a very large number, what you quickly realize is that some of the enterprise-based technologies that we've used for carrier Wi-Fi to date have limits, especially in the data plane, the traffic passing portion, and that includes the IP services and service delivery. So really, Benu produces a product line which acts as what we call the WAG, or the wireless gateway, and that is a very large-scale device which can terminate a large number of service tunnels from the access points. Those access points here are shown in the home, in an outdoor venue, and potentially in front of another WLAN controller, so again, a more enterprise-style solution. These tunnels are what we call an overlay solution. It's a very typical way to deploy Wi-Fi aggregation. We do this because having services centralized, IP services centralized in this fashion, gives us, as an operator, tremendous leverage in a number of different areas. The first of which is very simple. It's mobility. It allows a user to move from access point to access point and keep a continuous IP address, session, user experience, a tremendously important basic construct of a Wi-Fi architecture. The secondly is it gives us tremendous leverage in terms of the services that we can deploy. So if we think about a model where the access point is providing all of the services and simply attaches to whatever network is available, if we wanted to offer a new service to that network, we would then be responsible for ensuring that every single access point had the capability of offering that service. And as we start to layer services on top, it becomes more and more complex. So this architecture was adopted really by the industry itself as a way to, again, get tremendous scale and leverage for Wi-Fi networks in all of these type of places. And you see here, we're not only talking about the open amenity networks. So if I think of something like Comcast's Xfinity network or cable Wi-Fi, but really it's also for the next generation of networks based upon the Wi-Fi security standards. So those that are passpoint derived, which will be tremendously important for offload and for voice applications.
Based on that, what is your vision for the future? What should we expect in the next 12 to 24 months?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier about the services that we put on top of a Wi-Fi network, and those services really can be very wide and varied depending upon the context of location, the context of the user. Really, Benu's mission is not just to, again, provide connectivity, it's to drive services down to devices. So if you look at the way a licensed mobile network deploys services, you can assign services to a specific smartphone or a specific tablet. We don't have that capability in Wi-Fi today, and we at Benu think that's critically important to be able to address a specific device with a specific set of services, regardless of location, and really regardless of any of the other constructs in the network. It becomes much more 3GPP-like in terms of its service delivery, but with all the advantages that Wi-Fi brings in terms of the economic model, the ubiquity of the footprint. So we're putting a lot of energy over the next 12 to 24 months in that service device level intersection, and we're working with our service provider customers on defining what those services are inside of their networks.
All right, that's excellent. It's a really exciting view and vision of what's coming next in terms of next generation Wi-Fi networks, and I'm sure you're both customers and investors are very excited about it. So I really want to thank you today, Clayton, for answering my questions. I want to thank the audience for listening up, and please stay tuned for the next Wi-Fi 360 Prime interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much.